Welcome to Board Game Breakfast, everyone. I'm Roy Kennedy.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
We are here for another exciting episode of Board Game Breakfast. We're up there in the numbers of these, but
400 something. You scheduled it.
9 or something? I don't know.
922.
We're up there. Everybody, look at the thumbnail. That's the number we're at.
Hey.
I should say it underneath the screen somewhere
Maybe
too.
the title as well, something like that.
Like that.
We put these things together. But yeah, so we also have an exciting contest, which I'm going to let Chris talk to you about.
So this is sponsored by Pandasaurus Games. I would like to thank them for sponsoring this.
Yes.
You want to win a copy of Unrest. This is an asymmetric 2-player game. If you want to enter, go ahead and email us at contest@dicetower.com. In the subject line, put the word regime. Why regime? Well, because you're trying to overthrow the regime. If you're the good guys, you're trying to keep the regime in place if you're the bad guys.
Okay.
Asymmetric 2-player head-to-head kind of a card game. You're trying to control a certain number of districts. And in fact, that's the question there. How many districts need to be liberated for the rebellion to win in the game? I won't tell you how many there are. I'm not going to tell you how many in total you need to win. You
I
need to go look
assume
that
there's
up.
more than one.
That's what the
Just taking
the
a stab
S
in the dark
means
there.
on-
But yeah, so can you rage against the regime in Unrest? So thank you again, Pandasaurus, for sponsoring this episode.
For sure. Also, we do want to make sure to remind everybody that registration for Dice Tower East is November 14th?
November,
I think
let me
so.
say the correct date. I believe it's the 9th.
Ooh,
of this.
we're moving up. You better be ready on the 9th.
Yeah, 9th, which is this coming Thursday.
Yes, to sign up for
That's
Dice Tower
exciting.
East. That is a event we do in Orlando where we have tons and tons of different board games, and you get to come out and play all these board games. We have a lot of exciting events as well. Lots of cool dexterity games set up for people to play also. But yeah, make sure to check that out. You can come on out and play a lot of board games at a Dice Tower event. Also, there is Dice Tower West and Dice Tower Cruise. I'm not sure if the Cruise has many rooms left.
Very few at this point.
Very,
yeah.
very, very few. My favorite board game event ever. And then also Dice Tower West is out in Las Vegas. Make sure to check out that as well.
And it's nice because each of our conventions has a little bit of a different identity. Like
Yeah,
you
it
talked about
does.
at East, it has that huge row of just these big old dexterity games. And we know for a fact that Tom has already purchased a few more compared to
That
last
he
year.
has.
Yes.
So that's becoming a little prized possession of his. But yeah, make sure to go check those out.
Awesome. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get on with the show.
All right, this is Eye Catchers. We're talking about different things that we've seen either on the internet, maybe coming through the office, things that are just kind of like sort of recent news. So I'm going to kick this one off here. Mine is, this was announced a little bit ago, but I wanted to finally cover it. There is an upcoming Micro Macro app. This
Oh,
is
that's cool.
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, the Micro Macro is a game that I love a ton. But you got to have some good lighting.
It hurts my eye. I love this game, but it hurts my eyes if the lighting is not extremely good.
Which is weird because sometimes our front room where we play games, the lighting feels great, and then other times we're like, is it darker in here than usual?
What happened?
I don't mean to eyesight flex, but it normally looks pretty good for me.
Have you played Upside Down, though? Because if you play with more than a couple people, you have to have two people on
That's
the opposite
hard to
side.
do anyway. Like
Yeah.
literally upside down, or you mean just
No, I
looking
just
up?
mean from the other
style.
side.
Yeah.
I normally have everybody sit on the same side of the table. I've mostly played this with my kids though. So
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, this is such a fun one. And so, in anticipation of the app version coming out, I noticed that on the Micro Macro website, there's a playable demo that you can
Oh
do.
snap!
Oh,
Wait.
Here
Hot
we go.
chips. We
Spoilers.
gotta find hot chips.
Hot chips, baby.
Okay.
A man was shot dead in a dark corner of the West Market Square. Many people heard the shot, but there's no trace of the perpetrator.
Oh,
So-
there's the chips place right there. I see. Oh, you zoomed out too
Oh.
far.
Oh, I want to look at
He has to have bought them.
pizza.
He has to have bought them over
I
at
see
the hot chips
sausages.
place.
Oh, I see the guy walking with the hot chips in the top left.
Oh,
Oh,
there
really?
he is. Mr. Hot
they've
Chips
got
right
him.
there.
He still has
There
his
you
chips
go.
there.
Yeah,
He
he
still
seems
has his
fine.
chips.
He's
He's
not
still
dead yet.
alive.
Oh, there he
no!
is.
Oh, no,
no!
what has happened?
He dropped his chips. He dropped them.
His glasses. You know how expensive glasses are?
How's he going to be able to see this board without his glasses?
Disco Stew doesn't need glasses. So anyway, you can just kind of go through, and then as you, so this is just kind of like a teaser of how it's going to work. This is a fun.
All we had to
fully
do was
playable
find the
scenario.
corpse.
Well, that's step
Well,
one.
that's the demo.
Where was the victim earlier, right? So you just go through and here's all the different cards. So yeah, I think this is really
That's
neat.
fun.
And if the app is going to be like this, then I'm super jazzed.
I
about
love
it.
They
how
were
zoomed in it can
poison
get.
chips.
Poison chips.
Oh, maybe it was the ketchup that was poisoned.
You never expect the ketchup.
I once went to a restaurant where the ketchup was rancid.
poisoned?
I didn't know that ketchup could go bad, but it can go bad.
So the
Tasted
ketchup was
terrible.
a punk band?
That's true. So it was, and it was like special house blend. You know, like they were so
It was
proud.
a fancy bottle, yeah.
It was like their own home brewed ketchup. And when I started tasting it, we're like, I just don't like it.
It had that yeasty flavor.
Ugh.
And so I was like, is this fermented ketchup? Like, what's going on with the ketchup?
They
Did
brought
they
out-
try it?
They brought out a different bottle for our friends who were like, this ketchup is really good. And we're like, are you sure, guys?
Wow.
Yeah, we eventually figured out.
Yeah.
It was just us.
It was
we
the
didn't
ketchup
die,
poisoning all
so-
along.
All right, Roy, what you got?
Oh, my eye catcher is Deceased. This is an upcoming game from CMON, but they did their Marvel Zombies. This is a DC Zombies. I haven't actually read the comics for this. I read more of the other version, but yeah, I'm really excited about this just because they do such a good job with the sculpts and miniatures on these games. And I'm really excited to see how it all comes together. There's just something exciting about, in the office a lot of times with these games, we'll just do things where we guess, oh, which characters are gonna be in the game? Like, who are they gonna put in next? And it's always fun to like talk through and be like, oh, this person's next, that person's next, or whoever is right about which characters they actually throw in there. I do think that Batman and Superman have already been spoiled. But yeah, I'm excited about seeing this all come together, and we're actually going to be playing this live on the channel on Friday.
On Friday.
So this should be coming in, and you should be able to get a look at Deceased. But yeah, I'm really excited to see. And I really am interested in like checking out this comic as well, because I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see those different normal comic worlds you see just totally turned on their head with this sort of thing. I'm not even that big of a zombie guy, but I don't know. Superheroes and zombies mixes it up for me. I don't know. That's cool.
It's superheroes enough for you?
Superheroes are enough for me. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, looks
That's
good.
cool.
It seems like it's not as grim for some reason. I don't know. Because you actually have heroes that can fight against the zombies instead of just like weapons or whatever.
Well, wait
But the
until you get the
zombies are the
Snyder
heroes.
cut.
The Snyder cut?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Oh, that's going to be dark.
Martha! Okay. Yeah.
Why'd you say that name, Roy?
I don't know. I haven't even seen the movie, so I really don't know why I said the name. All
All right,
next.
we on to mine?
Yes.
All right, this is Revive. This is the expansion Call of the Abyss. This one sounds really interesting. So it adds more player powers. And thematically, I guess what has happened is as we have fixed the Earth a little bit, these massive glaciers have started melting and they made little glacier lakes. And somehow these extremely wise creatures have popped up. And they have a weird name. What's the name? The name is Scyphoz. Skyphos?
When the
Psychophagus?
shy falls.
Sarcophaguses.
Huh.
That's what they're.
But
But yeah, so it creates new, like there's a whole new chunk of mechanisms going on with those creatures, but then you also have different player boards. And it sounds like, you know that switch on the main board or on your player board that you can move up and down?
Yeah.
Occasionally, like when you reset, it resets. It says in the explanation that there's a lot of different things that have to do with a switch. And so I'm wondering if it's that switch or if it's some other switch thing going on. But if those switch become more interesting, because right now it's what, like gain a card or something?
In the basic version, it's like one resource, but
Yeah.
as you go through the campaign,
you have more options.
you have more options
right.
that switch. Yeah.
Right, you have more options. So I'm curious what this is, because it sounds like each individual player power, you can do interesting things with that switch. So
Switch the switches.
I'm excited to try it.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, there it is. Reset your switch.
Oh yeah, okay. So you can use it more.
Okay, well, very cool.
Nice.
So those are our eye catchers for this week. Let's go ahead and jump to some contributors.
Hello everyone, it's Stella and Taryn from Maple University. We have Make the Difference. This is a new game, each game, at Gen Con at least anyway, by Oink Games. And this is like Spot the Difference, pretty much.
Yeah, it's the first instinct is, oh, it's another Spot the Difference game. These tend to, you have a set of cards and you try and
Yes,
look for
yes.
differences. But there's a clever and a nice twist here. So you are creating the difference. You have these cards that look like they've been drawn with marker, and then you make your own changes to it. You cover it with this sort of semi-transparent thing here, so you can't quite tell the difference. And then everyone else has to try to find the differences. And
The time allocated.
yeah, and it's got a clever little scoring mechanism. So ones that are found quickly score for the player who found it. Ones that are found less quickly score for both the player who drew it and the player who found it. And if you've got any big differences that don't get picked up, then you score a bunch of points off that.
When it says big differences, there's like a ruler that you actually measure. If it's quite a big long difference, then you get 3 points. Smaller one get 2. If it's too small, you didn't actually get any points. So you can put a dot if you want to. It's really hard to find, but you won't score any points if you...
Unless someone finds it in the second half.
Oh yeah, actually that's true actually. So yeah, it's a fun game by Oink Games. Did you get it? Did you get it at Gen Con? I think this is a fun game. It plays up to 5 players, 2 to 5 players. So make the difference. Check it out. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match. Today we're looking at Disney's Mickey and the Beanstalk. The players are attempting to feed all the people down here that have certain requirements of food and have the golden heart back down to the valley before the giant fills up 8 spots in his box. On a turn, you will turn the spinner. If it lands on the giant, he will move to the closest edge of that color. Or if he goes onto a food space, then he will take that food space and put that into his box. Then the players will move the number of spaces listed here. It's always 1 to move up to the drawbridge and over here. And if they land on a space, it does not require movement action. They can take a food and add it to their supply or a key here. If they get a key and go to the box, they can then take things out of his lockbox, helping secure the victory. What they want to do is get on here, onto Mickey's Beanstalk, ride all the way down, deliver their goods into the city and the harp, with all of the characters and everybody fed down here, and Mickey and his friends will be the winner of the game. In Disney's Fun and Fancy Free, they released Disney and the Beanstalk, and this ended up being one of my favorite cartoons growing up, so I was happy to see the board game released of it. What you're going to get here is a simple game for younger gamers of Mickey and his gang trying to go up the beanstalk, collecting certain things and bringing it back down. It has a really cool 3D effect where the guys can go down on the beanstalk. I think it's a really nice touch. You're collecting things. You kind of need to work together and strategize about how to get around the giant, and I think it all works into a great package, and it really brings the IP into the board game. Now, this isn't going to be your next great board game accomplishment. It does have spin and move, which is going to turn some people off, but I think the package and the story that comes through this and the tension it's going to build for the little guys brings that story, that particular cartoon, into the board gaming world, and it works beautifully. The artwork is wonderful. The components are great. This is a really nice package for your kids around 5 to 9 years old.
All right, we have the top 10 upgrades for our top 10 today. And remember that the very top one is going to be your choice. Ooh. So go ahead and say in the chat what your favorite upgrades are. And let's get started. So my first one is monies. All the fancy monies.
Money, money, money.
So Chris and I are not as lucky as the Dice Tower is, because the Dice Tower gets to upgrade every single game, right? We get all the fancy stuff. But Chris and I, especially when Chris was still in college and I was a stay-at-home mom, monies was very tight. And so when we wanted to upgrade our board games, money was one of the first ways that we could do that, because you could buy one set of fancy money and you could just carry it from game to game to game. So I remember we bought the Scythe coins. We also got eventually we got the chips from Brass Birmingham.
Yep.
Which are the iron
nice.
clays. Those were nice because they're poker chips that they have the numbers, or like the money written on them. And then we also got some mini poker chips, because sometimes there just wasn't enough iron clays because we didn't get the giant box. We just got the one, and like that's enough for brass. But yeah, between those three, we were able to basically cover any game that we needed money for. And there's something that's so nice about, 1, not having paper money because that's dumb. 2, not having card money because that's also dumb unless it's a card game. And then 3, just being able to pick stuff up easier off the table, and it just feels nice.
Nice.
So yeah,
It's a good pick.
money.
I like
All
fancy
right.
money.
Roy, you're up next. Number 9.
My number 9 is basically when they take cardboard tokens and turn them into like plastic bits or like miniature bits and things like that, like they do in Blood Rage if you have the upgrades for that. All of your little counters that are normally just counters on your board, you get to turn them into plastic stuff. And the first player markers, like really fancy first player markers, is really cool too. But yeah, I just enjoy it when you get to upgrade a game and like make it have more of a table presence as you're playing through all the stuff. And it actually has some utility. It makes it easier to pick up and move those things, you know? Because picking up cardboard tokens is not the easiest thing to do. But if you have like a miniature that you're using in place of that, it's really cool as well.
Sometimes it's easier to see if the miniatures are colored or whatever, but if you don't paint them, sometimes all the gray minis make it harder to see.
Right.
Than the tokens.
But if they're all different colors, it's not too bad. Big of a deal. So
Right.
Also, just paint them.
just paint all your miniatures.
Easy peasy.
Also, I'm on Violent Frog's team. Card money's not dumb. Card money's pretty awesome. Moving along, number 8. My number 8 is those cool PVC plastic cards that we've been seeing more of lately. So that is a moving image there from the Radlands Kickstarter.
That's fancy.
Because you could get the deluxe version with the cool cards, or you could just get regular, like, cardstock printed ones. The one that really jumped out for me is Fugitive. The second edition of that game here has those PVC, those plastic cards, which is really nice because you don't need to sleeve them then, because Fugitive's a game where you don't want any markings. If your cards get marked, that game is fairly ruined at that point. And so, yeah, these PVC cards are really impressive.
I bet I can find a way to mark those.
Anyone can,
Challenge
Wendy.
accepted.
Yeah.
You're so preoccupied with whether or not you could, you didn't stop to think about whether or not you should.
I haven't played too many
making
games with
dinosaurs,
plastic
baby.
cards recently.
All right, my number 7 is dual layered boards. Now, I remember back in I'm just talking about all of our cheap college days where we had no money. But I remember getting Terraforming
Can't say
Mars.
no money, we were buying board games.
That's fair. But we were buying many board games. But I remember Terraforming Mars, I really wanted the dual layer board, and we had friends that had the wood insert fancy thing that they had like drawn on and painted and whatever. And we were still using just the base flat mat where if you bumped it, suddenly you didn't know how many heat you had or plants or whatever. Like, it was terrible. And so I remember laminating our boards, and then I put ticky tack on each one of the cubes to make it stick to the board. More of the story is just get the dual layered boards. I mean, there's like 3D printing options for them. You can get them off of Etsy. They're not that expensive. They're more available now for games than they were back when we were first playing Terraforming Mars.
I remember like
Yes.
the first Eclipse that like you just had to set the cubes on a thing, and like if anybody touched the table, it's like, well, your game's
It's
ruined.
over.
Yeah.
You know, I had to get like those acrylic things to stick them in. You know,
Yeah.
Acrylic overlays is such a thing at the past
it's
at
a
this point.
pain in the neck. You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
work nearly as well as double layer boards do.
So much nicer.
No, yeah. All right, next one, number 6. That's to you, Roy.
Back to me. I'm talking about pre-painted miniatures. I know Zaya is one of the games that did this. I really enjoy pre-painted miniatures, and there's several other ones. I know even like the upcoming Dice Throne X-Men has those pre-painted miniatures in it as well. Robot Quest Arena or whatever has pre-painted robots. I love it when the game comes like already cool, really cool miniatures, but they're pre-painted and you don't even have to like go through and paint them. I think it's really cool when games have like really good looking pre-painted miniatures. I think it's an amazing upgrade. Just adds to the flavor and the theme of the game.
Right, and then you don't have to, like, some people love painting.
I love
but not
painting,
everybody
yes.
does.
I don't have
Nor
the
does
time
everybody
for
have the
painting.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
No, so like Ivy Studios with their stuff, like those look really good too.
Yes, yeah.
All right, number 5 here, I titled Marble. Nothing to do with marbles. I really like, okay, so in the library copy of Hadrian's Wall in the library, we've got Tom upgraded like the actual, instead of just like little cubes to represent stone and
whatever.
granite and stuff, he put actual like granite countertop chopped into cubes and like buffed down and stuff.
Yeah.
And it feels so good. They're still cubes, but like
They got weight to them.
they have weight, so they're stone. Like I
They're
like
cold to the touch.
I like those cool upgrades that are like metal bars of actual metal and whatnot. Sure, that's cool, but this one just feels really nice. More than anything, any of the other like general like we upgraded this, made it heavier. These ones feel great. They feel like granite.
It's such an interesting tactile and visual and auditorial experience because it's not just that they're heavier. It's that like they have the unique feel, they're heavier, they're cold, and they clink together differently when you like pick them up.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole different experience.
They taste different too. So it's got all 5 dimensions.
How often are you eating the board game components,
Moving
Chris?
along, number 4,
Like
Wendy.
Chris would know. All right, my number 4 is the one that I'm most excited. Speaking of like physical wonderfulness. So I hadn't played Gutenberg, and I was going through and I was doing something. I was finding missing pieces, or I was labeling bags. I don't know what I was doing, but I reached in the bag and I pulled out these ink vials that were made of glass, and I was just like, I have to play this game. And I'm not normally like that with pieces and with tokens and whatever, but there's something so beautiful about this, an entire bag full of glass vials that are then full of liquid that like shakes around and stuff, different ink colors. It just made me feel rich. I don't know what it was, but I just...
Were you playing somebody else's copy and it made you feel rich playing the
Yes,
game?
it made me feel rich and fancy playing with these ink vials. They're amazing. It is like by far the best upgrade that I have ever seen in a game. I love it so much. Also, I liked Gutenberg after I played it, but the vials made me play it.
You're such a shallow gamer, as Mike would say.
I'm such a shallow gamer.
So, my number 3 here is 3D buildings, planets, and structures in a game. Basically anything that makes you have that table presence that pops off the board. I know Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, all the stuff comes like that, but then there's like upgrades for like War of the Ring that you can get off Etsy, where they're like makes the mountains actually mountains and has all the strongholds and stuff like that. Or like Tom had a version of Star Wars Rebellion set up that just had all these ridiculous 3D planets, like ridiculous. I just enjoy the table presence in a game, and anything that like makes a game just like pop off the table for you and help immerse you in that world is like amazing for me. And for some reason, 3D components, 3D structures, 3D buildings, like even in like all the pyramids and obelisks around is really cool. I don't know, that stuff just makes me like get into a game even more when I can see it like raising off the table. It's just not flat and boring.
So in Return to Dark Tower, we have little 3D things,
Yes.
and then they have lights in them as well, so
I
they
love
light
it.
up.
Yeah,
There's
that
so much
stuff is
going
all
on
good.
there.
Yeah.
Light up things in the middle of boards. I would never do anything like that. You know?
And then for the number 2, this is such an obvious one, but I had to go for it, and that's the Geek Up bits. This was said by a few people in chat. My goodness,
Yeah.
these things are fantastic. Board Game Geek stumbled into something really brilliant with these, taking, kind of like you were talking about earlier, a lot of cardboard tokens, turning them into these nice, easier to pick
Acrylic,
up, as you're
yeah.
saying, that tactile and auditory and tastatory kind of experience of how different these are.
You know why it makes me feel rich, these fancy things? Is because it's like clinking wine glasses at a toast.
There you
It
go.
has that effect of like, ooh, we fancy.
What do you know about drinking wine, Wendy? No, I'm just kidding.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
So the one on the right here is not one that I've actually gotten to play with yet, but I really want to. That replaces in the crew, that replaces
that's really
the
nice.
little deck
Yeah.
of cards.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, the objective deck, I want to play with those.
And these are so much nicer than like, right, I mean, there's a lot of people that do acrylic bits where they cut them out. And I thought about adding acrylic bits for the list. Part of the fact is this was on the list, so I didn't add that to it.
Gotcha,
but these
yeah.
are just so much nicer because they're like plastic with like really nice artwork on everything, and they match the game so well.
Extremely
They're really
smooth
nice
on the edges.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
is really
So,
awesome.
All right.
All right, for my number 1 pick, I think Mike Heller mentioned this earlier, but coin capsules.
Oh,
Good luck finding it right.
how high up was that?
A
It
lot.
was way earlier. Anyways, he mentioned that he did it for Ready, Set, Bet. I know Vagrant Song, we've also done it for.
Arkham Horror, the card game, a lot of people
Yes.
do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, those coin capsules are really nice. And once again, they make you feel like there's so much more to that piece of cardboard because it's not cardboard anymore. It's
Are
this
we
beautiful
past it?
plastic
Nope, we
coin.
passed it. Who you said it?
Mike Heller.
Mike Heller.
I looked at his stuff.
Right
there it
there.
is.
Coin capsules.
Bum, bum, bum,
Very
bum, bum.
nice.
There you go, Mike. You win the number 1 spot
Whoa.
this
Yay.
time. Ah!
Way more satisfied. Yes, coin capsules are wonderful.
I saw a couple of, really good ones too. People talk about neoprene playmats rather than
Yes.
like the boards. I like that. What were some of the other ones? I forget some of the other ones, but like, there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of great ways to upgrade games.
There are. There's
for
so
sure.
many awesome ways.
All right. Well, there's the top 10 list. Let's go on to some more contributors.
Happy breakfast, everyone. Today I'm here to talk to you about the Ratcatcher, where you play as the Ratcatcher, and it's a solo adventure game. I'm not normally a solo gamer. I would normally just go and play on the computer, but this one intrigued me with its very unique theme, and, well, it was a pretty interesting experience. First of all, you are playing the Ratcatcher as you go out about this town to collect magic cheese. Unfortunately, some of the rats are trying to get that cheese before you, and other rats, well, they're trying to take a little nibble out of you. As you collect cheese, your character is effectively going to level up. Maybe you can move a bit further, attack a bit harder. You can trap them as well. Each character has a slightly different trap that you can use, so you can play against the same big nemesis and come out of it slightly differently depending on the traps you've got or the character that you're using. Unfortunately, for me, it's on the cusp of almost too much admin, but it can't really be done in any other way. There's a horde of rats. You're going to be moving on the rat's turn, maybe 10, 15 rats. That's quite a lot for me personally, but it does mean it doesn't feel like there's only 1 or 2 rats in this town. It feels there is a full-on amount of them scurrying around, and you need to be able to take them out. It's certainly got a extremely unique theme, which is backed up by the artwork. Like I said, for me, maybe a little bit too much admin. I might play it a few more times, but maybe it's a solo game for you that you didn't know about. That is the Ratcatcher, the solo adventure game, and enjoy the rest of your breakfast.
Hello, this is Oliver, and today I wanted to talk about a game that is setting a great example for me to be healthier, and that game is called Diced Veggies. What I like about Diced Veggies is that, number one, something really creative that I've never seen in the game is that there's this little block of dice and you're using a cardboard cleaver to cut out those dice that represent veggies. And you use those towards your recipe cards. And I just think that's, like, crazy. And I just think games should do that because that is, like, crazy to me. Another thing I like is that the simplicity of the turn order. All you're doing is you're cutting dice, you're playing cards or recipes if you can, and you are drawing a card. And that's it, and you just rinse and repeat for the whole rest of the game, and which makes it really easy to teach and really easy to learn. Speaking of learning, I do not read rule books often, and I actually just pulled the rule book out, read through it, and watched a video on it, and I knew the game very well. And so if you don't read rule books often and you have a hard time understanding games, this one is a super easy learn. Another thing I like is that when you're cooking recipes, you can pair them with hype cards. What I mean by that is hype cards are little things that have something on the top like Dad's secret recipe for, and then on the bottom it has like a thing you have to do to earn the points. So you're like, discard 2 dice before playing, and then you can play that with your recipe card for more points. And I just think that is really, really awesome. And overall, I think this game is amazing, and you should really go check it out. Have a great breakfast. Bye.
What we do here is go back.
All right, it's old school game time. So we plan out these board game breakfast episodes a little bit ahead of time, make sure we have time to kind of go over what we're going to be picking and everything. And I was super busy for a while last week, and you, Roy, looked through our little short list of games to consider, and you picked Modern Art.
To be fair, Wendy looked through the list, told me some things, and she said, "You played Modern Art?" I said, "Yes."
Okay. So that was...
I guess I picked it.
A little peek behind the curtain. Was that it? You're just like, Roy, you played this one.
No, I think I asked him, "Hey, Roy, have you played?"
And I said, yes.
I've never played Modern Art. I think I was just naming off games.
Oh, okay.
You picked one you had played.
Gotcha.
And I have not played Modern Art. I know the gist of how it works. And I'm not a big auction game person.
But are you a big 4 different kinds of auction game person?
Well, if you give me options in my auctions, I might want to play. No.
You have options.
The option is don't play.
All right, so in quick summary, Modern Art is a card game where everyone has, depending on player count, a certain number of cards in hand. When it's your turn to lead off, you'll play a card out. It belongs to a different color, i.e. a different artist, and it'll also have a type of auction, whether that is a typical open auction. You go around until
Right.
everybody passes. You can do a once around, where if I lead off, starting with Wendy, she throws a number 13. Roy goes up to 15. And then I bid last, and I could either go higher than Roy, or I could let him have it for 15.
Yeah.
So once around, I like that. You can do the closed fist auction where everybody
Blind
reveals
bidding.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And then you can also do this is a really fun one, I think. I just state a price. I say $25 for this Monet. Monet's not a modern artist. $25 for this Stravinsky.
Banksy.
And then so everyone else can either say, the first person can either take it for 25 or pass. The next person can take it for 25 or pass. If not,
You have to
I
buy
have
it for
to pay for it.
25. Yep.
I like all of those. I like mixing that into an auction game. If you don't like auction games,
That's all this is. It's basically
that's
that.
all this is. Yes. I can't imagine you'd be a big fan.
All
Roy?
the flavors of options.
Yeah,
Auctions.
I'm not that crazy about auction games too much either. I mean, I was talking about Reiner Knizia games in general. I'm just like, But the thing that makes this game interesting to me is the fact that I'm pretty sure this is the first game I ever played with Tom Vassell. I should actually switch this to this.
Oh yeah. Bam! Look at that.
This is the first game I ever actually played with Tom. It was at CMON Expo because CMON had just gotten the rights to modern art and they were starting to show it off. And we had like a video that we actually put up on the channel, but this was way back before I ever worked for the Dice Tower, back when I was just a contributor forever ago. I had gone out to CMON Expo and Tom was like, hey, why don't you do some stuff with us? And so I ended up being a part of their modern art video and a couple of the other games that were released by CMON that year at their expo. So it was pretty cool. And I was like, I got to play this with Tom. And that was an exciting thing for me. It's like, I'm playing with Tom Vassell. But yeah, it's crazy to think back. But yeah, modern art is definitely an interesting game. I don't know that I've actually played it since then. And that was right when this first came out for the CMON version. I know there's been a ton of different versions of the game, right?
Wow, people make their own little mock-ups and stuff as well. Look at this. Look, you can put Fantasy Flight in your own version of modern art there.
games.
That's
I
crazy.
like it.
Woo.
So who
That
was the
was made a
guy in the
while ago.
fancy bow tie? Was that like young Knizia?
That's Dr. Reiner Young Knizia.
Is that really
Thank you very
him?
much.
That's crazy. That's
yeah,
awesome.
look at it.
Wow, he looks so different.
He looks very different. Yeah, he should grow the beard back. I think it looks great. Wow, he looks like such a skeezy salesman. Which Knizia has a sense of humor, right? His games, you might look at them and be like, these are like math puzzles, but he has a goofy sense of humor.
Oh,
so
for sure.
It would not be a surprise if he was dressed up, like, oh, I'm going to be a silly art gallerist kind of a guy.
Sure.
Now, I really like this game, and like I said, I think this is 100% dependent on whether you like auctions or not. Because that's all it is. There's a little bit of, depending on which artists are out there.
There's some set
how much
collection
they're gonna
rules
be
as
worth.
well, right? That
Yes.
you get points for having certain sets of certain types of art. So that's why the bidding is kind of important. It's like, man, this really helps complete my set. I'm going to go after this,
Exactly, yeah. So the
Which
different,
makes there has to be something of value of collecting the cards.
and they will.
It's art. It's all subjective, Wendy.
Fair. So this is, once again, an unofficial print, but this gives you an idea of how that scoring works, right? At the end of each round, kind of based on, if I remember correctly, it's how many pieces of art are out there by each artist is what their relative value is. So the biggest flaw that I have with this game is, I think, because it's a closed economy, if I put out a really juicy card at the beginning of the game or early in the game and someone overbids on it, they're paying me like $40.
Yeah.
I'm just now winning because money is directly points in this game, and so someone has accidentally flooded me a little bit too much with value and points and stuff, and now I can just kind of bid however I want and either get a great collection or just hoard money and I have points.
It's probably me that gave you all that money. It's probably the time that I played.
Listen, when you start, you have a whole bunch of money and you just burns a hole in your pocket.
Right, exactly, yeah. So no, I really like modern art though. I think it's fun, and I think that it's fun because it feels like mini games within a bigger game. All these different types of auctions. Like I want to do a once around.
And overall, as far as like the theme goes, it's very thematic. Auctions for art is like a huge thing, so
Yeah.
it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a classic going back to 1992, so I'm glad you guys picked it because I enjoy talking about it. I give it a 7.5. I would, if I played it more, I wonder if that would go up or down, if I would kind of see, if I would see more of those instances where like, oh, someone gave this person the game, but I just have
Or
have
if
too
you would
much
just
fun.
love it, yeah.
Yeah, if I would love it more playing it with like a real tightwad group of people who are not going to overvalue stuff for each other. I really enjoy it. So there you
Awesome.
go. A Knizia classic. Let's move along.
Hello everyone, my name is Sven Breckhoff Eriksson and welcome to my new segment Trending Mechanisms, where I take stats from the Board Game Geek website and see what's trending. So today we're going to talk about escape room games. So the first recorded game in the Board Game Geek database is ThinkFun's Escape the Room, Mystery at Stargazer's Manor, 2015, and by then you know the live escape room game industry was booming. So I think this is kind of a trendsetter actually, because it's very popular and it was the first one in the database. You should be careful with those kind of. And then these are the highest ranked games. So we have Exit the Abandoned Cabin is the most popular one. So this should maybe be the starting if you're not getting into escape room games. These are the most popular ones. And here's the graph. Looky. Top notation 2021. Everybody wanted to escape the room during COVID, right? 144 games published. That is roughly 3% of all games published that year. But then there was a surge last year by almost 1%, significant drop. And this year, it's only 56 games published. So you might think that it like oversaturated market, but also maybe that the escape room games are evolving into mystery games or adventure games. What do you think? Do you agree with my analysis that the curve is flattening? Post in the comments below. Have a nice breakfast. Goodbye.
Hey everyone, today on the Plastic Canvas we're turning the pack horse from Tainted Grail from this into this in just 2 minutes. Hey everyone, Matt here from the Plastic Canvas and welcome to today's episode of 2 Minute Mini, and today we're painting the donkey from Tainted Grail. So the main thing that I want to talk about in this video is picking and choosing which minis you put more and less effort into when painting an entire game. Now for most of us that paint minis, it's a passion hobby. We do it because we love it. But I'll be the first to admit that I spend way too long on each individual mini, especially when you consider how much time each individual mini actually gets out of the box. But I'm always conscious of the fact that there's more minis to paint, whether it's more in the game that I'm currently painting or the newest game that's just arrived from Kickstarter, looking at you, Frosthaven. And because of this, I can't devote hours upon hours to every single mini because I only have so many hours every week that I can spend painting. So some minis are just going to get less time than others. But how do you choose which minis get more and less time spent on them? Well, the donkey here is a good example of one that I intentionally spent less time on. Because it isn't a playable character, and therefore I assume won't spend the same amount of time out on the board, this was one that I was happy to cut some time on. So I decided to paint the donkey using what I've found out is more or less the slap chop method. So I laid down a zenithal undercoat by dry brushing on lighter and lighter greys, and then I painted washes over the top. And because the washes are so thin, they allow the tones from the undercoat to show through so that the highlighting and shading is essentially done for you. This is a really quick way of painting that still gives you decent results, especially when the mini is now out in the middle of the table. And so that's how I cut down the time on this mini so that I could devote a bit more time to the characters. So I'd love to hear in the comments which minis you choose to spend less time on, and if you'd like to see the full version of this video where I go into all of this in more detail, then just head over to my channel, The Plastic Canvas, and I hope you enjoy your breakfast.
Whew. Man, every time I watch The Plastic Canvas, I'm like, oh, this is his slap chop job?
Right.
Oh yeah.
It looks
for real.
amazing. Super quick and easy.
Oh man. All right, well, let's jump back into the archives here. 9 years ago this video was. This is titled The Top 10 Games That Need a Deluxe Version, featuring one Z Tom and Sam Healy. This is a fun list to kind of go back and look at a little bit here. Well, first of all, just to see the old like studio setup and everything.
Oh,
I
for
love
sure.
how he just has that bottle sitting right in front of him. Like, that needs an upgraded version. Right there. Number 1. Cup holders.
Aloe drink. Yeah, Tom hasn't had aloe drink in a while. Oh, so heartwarming to go back to these old things. No, so this is a fun topic, right? Games that need a deluxe version of. And I was scanning through the list here and thinking, I wonder how many of these games
Actually got one.
got
right?
one.
That was the first question I asked.
It was the first thing you asked. How many do you think?
Out of 30 games?
Out of 30 games that they said, these games deserve
I'm
a
going to say
deluxe.
10%. 10%.
10%.
So 3 games.
3 games.
Yeah. I asked you and you answered me, so I know.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, I wonder if it's 0. Because, first of all, we're going to pick things that we want,
Right, for
not
sure.
necessarily like the masses want or whatever when we do these lists. It was 1 game. So I wrote out the list here. Z called it correct with Cleopatra and the Society of Architects.
Oh, my.
Which is hilarious because I think he enjoys the regular version more than he enjoys the deluxe upgraded version. I'm pretty sure
just
that's
know
very specific what he said.
I have to re-glue that version all the time because it breaks.
Yeah, it looks super neat and everything, but it does have some of those flaws with how sound it is and everything.
That's awesome.
A lot of these games have gotten reprints, right? Robo Rally is getting its like 5th reprint probably
It's like a
since then.
low-quality reprint, though. Like, the boards are fairly
they're like
thin.
worse
Everything's
almost.
just really cheap.
So I think Tom still feels vindicated in that it should get a deluxe edition.
Yeah, but he wanted, like, weird impossible stuff. He wanted the board to have actual treadmill tracks on it that you could, like, slide the robots
Vindicated!
down. And ones where you could actually turn the space they're on to change them in a different direction.
Oh, the old countdown. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, right? In Zularedo, he wanted to have actual animals that came in the box, right? Little baby zebras and koalas and stuff, I'm
He
sure.
really likes animals. He just bought toy animals at some point
I
for
said real
Ark
animals.
Novas. Ark Nova.
I don't think it's legal to put real animals in a box like that.
It's not legal
Flashpoint.
to own a penguin, apparently.
Flashpoint Fire Rescue, he wanted just to come with a box of matches. You know what I mean? So yeah, Tom asked for some weird stuff. But it's funny looking at this and still, like, Vegas Showdown has not had, like, even, I wouldn't even call it like a deluxe reprint, but just like an average reprint. It comes with these like paper boards and stuff. People have always complained about the component quality on it. So maybe the Renegade print that's coming up soon will be like average quality or higher.
Wouldn't it be fun in Formula Day if everyone had their own, like, clutch gear system? They had to, like,
With the
do
foot
that
pedals.
bullshit. Yeah, with the foot pedals and everything.
I
Yeah,
don't know if everyone saw, but you actually like you engaged the clutch
I
with
did.
your foot.
Yes,
That's how you want to play Formula D.
that's how I want to play Formula D.
Roy, your opinions on introducing 3 pedals into a board game?
And a gear shift.
I only use one pedal, so I'm not even going to do that.
You and your Tesla. Way to flex. Way to flex, Roy.
King of Tokyo here on Sam's list, still not gotten like a deluxe edition. That's
I know,
a little
right?
surprising to me. I mean, I think that game has really good quality. Like, out of the box, it is pretty solid.
It
right?
is. Can you imagine if you had miniatures for every King of Tokyo figurine?
I don't understand why they haven't done that yet. It seems like
Because you would need a briefcase to hold them
they
all
don't
in.
have to have every single one in the game. I'm just saying they should have a deluxe version where they have miniatures for everything. And it would just be really cool. Like a little Tokyo in the middle with some like little 3D buildings, and it has a little slot to put your guy in.
A little Tokyo.
That would
little
be pretty
Tokyo.
cool.
That would be actually cool.
Yeah, and then I mean, it would sell like hotcakes. So
It wouldn't sell like a city.
Horde of the Board kind of made the joke that I wanted to make, that the deluxe reprint of Formula D is basically Heat at this point, right? Like, some of these games are older and therefore have kind of fallen out of the zeitgeist. This would be a fun list to see updated, right? And I think that there's deluxe over-the-top reprints, and then there's what I would also consider like the Roxley treatment, like they did with Brass Birmingham, like they have with the upcoming Skyrise.
They make you feel fancy with your upgrades?
It makes you feel rich when you play other people's copies.
is there a specific game that you would want to be upgraded if you had to pick like a specific game? I think this is a weird thing because the game that I'm going to say has already been reprinted in a different theme, but I would like to go back to Ethnos and have like an upgraded version of Ethnos, where like the first character you put out, like you have like an actual mini for it, but then you can stack stuff underneath it, and it just has like a really nice board. You know, I'd really love to see like still a fantasy version of Ethnos. That would be really upgraded.
You know what? I really liked the stacking chips in the original Ethnos.
I would love that too, but I want a mini that goes on top of the stacks and you just stack underneath that.
There's the chips underneath. You only need 6 miniatures that way.
Right, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's only 6 regions. I think that'd be so cool. I agree.
Better looking board.
A little
better
bigger.
looking cards.
Better look. Yeah, I agree. I think that would be kind of like the go-to one. I'll also throw out King of Tokyo.
Yeah.
I just played Dark Edition with my daughter this weekend.
They are leaving money on the table.
They are. I really think so. So yeah, do you have anything else? Ethnos?
It's so hard because I think of like some of my favorite games. Brass has already had the Roxley treatment.
Yeah.
Feast for Odin already has like nice miniatures. I don't know what else you would. If you got real boats that you could put little. What?
Nice miniatures?
Not miniatures. I mean, people. Meeples.
Has,
the
like, the
meeples are
shaped-
nice. Yeah,
yeah.
it's got like the shaped meeples and stuff. But I guess if you had boats that you could put the coal in, or if you had a dual player board or some sort that you could hold everything nicely on your grid, so if you don't bump it, it doesn't get messed up.
You need the bumps, as featured in Art Society. And we're going to talk a lot about the bumps in that game. Yeah. No, I think this is a fun topic, and it's just kind of cool to look back and see, like, what did we want deluxe versions of nearly 10 years ago versus what actually has come out now. So there you go. That's our Dice Tower archive video.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
All right, today we're talking about Captain Pepe's Treasure Ahoy. And this is from Haba. This is basically a kid's legacy-style game. We as gamers love legacy-style games. We love the challenges they bring. We love the story that comes about. But it's usually a little bit more heavier strategy, a little bit more text, a little bit more darker themes, right? And so the ability to play a kids game with your kids as a legacy game is pretty novel.
And it worked out really well. Most legacy games have the story arc that you're following, and this had an extremely fun and cute, kid-friendly story arc that you're following. It changes the game. This just kind of, instead of changing the game, it adds modules that you'll be playing with or playing without. And then it also gives you rewards through these stickers. And so it does all the things that a legacy game does, but it's able to strip it down and make it extremely kid-friendly.
At its core, this is a logic-style game. This is a logic puzzle that you were kind of solving cooperatively, which is really, really interesting. One thing I had to do for myself is I had to kind of learn to restrain myself as I wanted to solve it as fast as possible. And as I
Get out of here, kids! I can do it myself.
What do we need you for? No, but this is a kids game for kids, so I had to maybe step back and like maybe give a suggestion or a hint, but let them take the reins, let them make the decisions on the logic of it all, and kind of let them solve it. This is going to really help their development as well as help their enjoyment of the game.
And the game does say 6+, and I think that that's very accurate. Our 6-year-old was the younger one, and she totally got the game.
I agree. This is a really interesting concept. It was colorful. It was cute. The characters were fun. The story was really exciting, I guess, from a kid's standpoint. And you get these little bite-sized nuggets, these little 10-minute sessions per day. Perfect for a kid. We had a great time with this one on our family.
Everybody, if you want to hear more from Ryan and I, you can find us on YouTube. We're Ryan and Bethany at Board Game Reviews. Until then, this is Ryan and Bethany, hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye, everybody.
Guys.
Well, it's mail time.
Mail time.
It makes me want to watch a video from our designated mail keeper for the day.
Insert name.
Yes. It sounds so much cooler that way, doesn't it?
The keeper of the mail.
Sounds like something that could be like the Tolkien would have written about.
Dun, 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 dun. Here's your letter.
Well, we have an old familiar face. Hope you're excited to see who today's mailman is.
Well, hey there, folks. We got some mail today, and oh, got some of those too. Ooh, pretty neat. Let's see here. The letter says, a lot of people ask what game brought you into gaming, but what game or games kept you there? The writer says, my first hobby game was Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. I had no idea board games could be like that. I wanted to explore more, but it was an awesome experience. playing Tales of the Arabian Nights with my family soon after that. Ugh. All right, well, not going to talk about Tales of the Arabian Nights, but for me, I think the game that really kept me in the hobby was, and this is a stretch, I know, Warhammer 40K. Now, Warhammer 40,000 is a tabletop miniatures game, and it's really a lifestyle game. It's really a hobby game, and that's what pretty much solidified my wanting to continue in the board gaming hobby at large. Now, I play a lot of games now, like Blitz Bowl, and I play Warhammer Underworld, Shadespire, and those kinds of things that are kind of a shadow of Warhammer 40K. But really, that was the one that really kind of sunk its teeth into me and told me that that's going to be, or this is going to be the hobby that I continue to be in maybe throughout the rest of my life. But I think it's Warhammer 40K is the game that really kind of solidified my wanting to stay in the board gaming hobby. So, thanks for writing in, neighbor. We'll talk to you later. See you on the flip side, folks.
You literally can see him on the flip side. The
There
flip
you
side
go.
of board game. Which apparently I mailed him stickers for his own company, is what that looked like.
It's weird
job,
how he
Chris.
gets other people to pay for the stickers for his own company. That's just crazy.
Mischievous.
All right, so what do you think about the topic? What's the game that, not the first one that that you loved, but the game that kind of hooked you and kept you in the hobby?
I know I've talked to you about this before, Chris, but it's weird because like I grew up playing so many games, and I played all sorts of games. But for me, I consider like getting into the hobby is when I just became obsessed with board games. Because I played board games. I played Carcassonne, I played Betrayal of the House on the Hill, I played Bang and Killer Bunnies and all sorts of different stuff and Flux, and Munchkin and all these things. But the things that really hooked me, those games didn't hook me the same way that playing things like Battlestar Galactica. The first time I played Battlestar Galactica, I started becoming like obsessed with board games.
I can see
games,
that.
Games that are like, wait, you can like cooperate in a board game. And then after that, I played the next game I really played was like Arkham Horror. You know, like they were talking about their first game playing was Arkham Horror. My second game playing was kind of Arkham Horror, and it's just another game where it's like cooperative games where you're working together, fully cooperatively against the game itself and getting to be teammates. I was a huge fan of role-playing games. I was a huge fan of that stuff, and being able to play it's like an RPG without a DM, sort of, not really, but you're playing against the game and you get to do it as like a team effort where we're not competing against each other. Made such a big deal for me, and I played Shadows over Camelot and Pandemic and stuff like that afterwards, and getting really engrossed in those sort of games just made me like deep into the board game hobby.
Made you stay.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
How about you, Chris?
Well, why don't you go first?
Okay.
Because ours kind of are tangents off
The
each
kind of
other.
tangents, I don't remember what you said yours were. Maybe you didn't tell me. He knows what mine is.
I know what you guys say your first one is.
So yeah, Dominion was our first
Dominion's
big
our
game.
first one.
Yeah.
So I grew up playing games, Racco, Rummy Tiles, what was that dice game?
Farkle
Liar's Dice,
or
whatever, Farkle, yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up playing those, but Dominion's the one that like really was like, we are hobby gamers. We're starting this. We bought all the Dominion expansions. We get everything that we could. And then there was that point where we had to be like, but what's next? And Seven Wonders was the one that was next. It was the one that we're like, okay, we're going to try this. And we had been taught Dominion. I'd been taught every game that I'd ever known as a kid. We've been taught a couple other games from your brother. And this was the first one that we were attempting to read the rule books. I remember you came across Rodney Smith, and you're like, oh, this guy plays games with his kids, and he shows you how to play. This is great. Because the rule book was dense. It was very dense for us new gamers. And so I feel like that's the one that really just hit it off of like, okay, we can learn our own games. We can find our own games. That was the one for me.
Yeah, just the power of going to YouTube for the first time and being like, does anyone do board games on YouTube? That seems like it'd be helpful.
Yeah.
That's a complete game changer. When if you're watching this, you've obviously gotten to that point. But that was, how long ago was that now? It was like,
that was the winter we got married? No, a year after we got married-ish?
a little bit after we got married, yeah. So about 11 years ago, typing into YouTube for the first time, like, board games, does anyone teach you how to play Seven Wonders or something like that?
Yeah.
Bam, watch it play. For me, I'm going to go with a slightly different one, just that honestly would be it. But I'm going to go and share the experience of the first time that we played Eldritch Horror.
Oh, okay.
So there was a local game store in Las Vegas where we were at the time, and that was kind of the first time we walked into like a game store, for the purpose of being like, games, right? We were already in the hobby at this point because of Dominion, because of Seven Wonders and a few other games. We walked into a store for the first time, and we're talking with the guys at the counter, like, "Hey, what's new? What do you guys recommend?" And he had recommended Eldritch Horror to us, and we rented it. I think this is a great thing that the store did.
Yeah.
They had this whole shelf of just rental games. So we took it home for the weekend, and they said you pay. I think it was like 10% of MSRP or 20% of MSRP for the rental fee. You can play for the whole weekend, bring it back, and then you're good. Or if you want to buy the game after that, then that rental fee is already applied to the price of the game.
Yeah.
So we paid, like $15 or $20 or something like that for the weekend. We played Eldritch Horror for the first time, loved it.
That's awesome.
We had so much fun.
I remember, it was like a 30-minute drive home because we didn't have a board game store right by our house. I remember reading that intro page where it explained all the Cthulhu-ness of it and being so excited on the ride home as you were driving. I was like, ooh, this is all the mysterious stuff happening. Like, we were set up, we were ready to go, and we played it a ton.
We played it, I think, 4 times that weekend. We played every single minion or every single villain that you could play against.
Yeah.
We played it 4 times. We went back to the store and we're like, no, we're buying it.
That's awesome.
And I think at that point, that's a huge moment to to go to the game store for the first time and then to have that type of an experience that engrosses you so much. I loved that.
I just remember how excited I was for Eldritch Horror when they started announcing it and stuff like that. Anyway, I was like, Eldritch Horror, oh my goodness, you get to run around the whole planet instead of just in Arkham. That was the first time they had done it. It's like, it's not the same game as a game I already love. It's slightly different, It's kind of cool.
Right, a game that put Cora Kineska and Nikki Valens in my radar. You know, it's just seeing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I have so much good experience with that. I like some of the things that people have been saying in chat. Mysterium and Lords of Waterdeep, I could see that. Those are games that can really hook you in. Can we scroll up a little bit? There's one that I saw that I thought was really cool.
It is funny to see, you kind of know when someone has entered the hobby based on what this game is, How
do you say his name? Diana?
Diana, yeah.
Diana said that they used to be a D&D player first. Me too. And Tom's trying to fix it back to that. Speaking of which, D&D on Thursday, yes.
Oh, that's true, yeah. We're continuing the D&D campaign. It wasn't Oops All Unos or Unos All Wilds. What was it? Yeah. There were a couple of other ones. Yeah, I guess scrolling back down here. Sentinels of the Multiverse. Right. That's a game you can just get into. Mansion of Madness.
Journeys of Middle-earth. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of the people that come into the hobby now because the games are so good. It's like back then. It's like, okay, yeah, these games are fun, but the quality of board game design these days is just ridiculous. There's so many amazing, excellent games that are coming out now.
Right, like someone said, a Lord
Dead
of the Rings.
Winter.
Dead of Winter.
I love that game.
So I meant the 2000 Reiner Knizia Lord of the Rings cooperative game. Have you played that one?
I played it. I think after some of the other ones, some of the other cooperative games, and it's very much just set collecting to go forward spaces. So it's not bad. I love Lord of the Rings. But it's very much just get cards, collect sets. I have 3 of these cards. We get to go forward a space. So that's kind of fun.
Kind of like you were saying with, what are the Shadows over Camelot, right? Those games, I think for their time were so engrossing because there weren't that many cooperative games, cooperative with a potential trader games.
And that Knizia Lord of the Rings game is kind of the one that started spinning off all the other cooperative games. I just played the other ones before I played it. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to go back and be to kind of appreciate the monumental nature of those games.
Because they feel clunky now or they feel convoluted now. There's just so much more going on.
That's it, when no, the fact that it's cooperative and you're fighting against the game itself is a huge deal, so.
Right, because 12 years later we were playing Eldritch Horror as kind of that hooking in game. It's so much just different of a beast. Yeah, it is kind of funny, like you said, when you talk with people and this is the game that hooked me at this time, and it's just going to be different based on what year you kind of got into the hobby. And I think that's cool. I think that's great that Catan was Kurt's you know, like that was the one that
It's
kept
so
it
weird to me because like I played so much Catan that honestly anybody who looked at like my history would be like, well, obviously you're a board gamer. Look how much Catan you played. And like I played the Settlers of Canaan, which is like the Christian version of Catan. I played tons and tons and tons of that. And then we're like, oh, let's get Catan. Oh, let's get the expansion to bring it up to 6 players. And I was doing all that stuff before I considered myself like a board gamer. I don't know, because I was more into card games and role playing games. So
yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun that everyone has a different journey. So yeah, thanks chat for sharing yours as well.
Awesome.
Well, there you go. That's another board game breakfast for the books.
We did it.
9. All right, make sure to come back at 1 o'clock today. We're going to be doing a Ketchupalooza of Elysium.
Ooh.
As Roy mentioned, D&D this Thursday. The story continues. What's his name? Grogcar is down in the well. Is he going to get eaten by a fish? Who knows?
Probably.
Yeah. What else we have
can
going
only
up
hope.
this week? We have the normal shows, of course, Smorgasbord, Crowd Surfing.
We have 2 live plays. I know we have one tomorrow and we have one Friday.
Undergrove is tomorrow, the new Elizabeth Hargrave.
And then
Douglas Fir and Mushroom Game.
Ooh.
Yeah. But as you saw earlier in the episode at the beginning, there's a contest for Unrest from Pandasaurus. Dice Tower East registration is opening this Thursday.
Do it.
So make sure to check that out. Anything else that we should cover?
I think that's it.
I think it's pretty awesome.
I think that's another wild, successfully board game breakfast tea morning. Till next time, my name is Chris Yee.
I'm Roy Ketting.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
Have fun gaming.